Let's learn how to create a weekly planner PDF in Illustrator in this super simple tutorial. So with Illustrator open, let's start by going to File, New, and under Print, I'm going to select the US letter format, Document, one artboard, portrait orientation. I don't need to worry about bleed, CMYK 300 ppi, happy with these settings, and leave it in millimeters. Let's click Create. First things first, let's save this document. File, Save. Save on computer, set a save location, so I'll go into my DWD images folder, and let's call this weekly planner 01. Illustrator file, click save, press OK. I'm going to use the grid to guide me, so Command or Control parentheses to turn on the grid, and use the same to turn it off, so you can toggle the grid on or off. I'm also going to snap to the grid. Use Shift, Command or Control parentheses to snap to grid, and you can toggle this on or off. You can also use View and check if snap to grid is turned on. I'm also going to turn my smart guides on as well. Next, come to Illustrator, Preferences, General, and in Grids and Guide, I'm going to have a grid every 25.4 mil. You can see my grid lines are practically lining up with the edge of the document, so I'm happy with this. Press OK. Bring up the rulers, Command or Control R, and I'm going to pull out some rulers onto the canvas. So pull out one, 3 squares in from the left, and another 3 squares in from the right. We're going to divide this planner into 3 sections, so let's roughly figure out the thirds on the page. Grab my rectangle tool, just click and drag out a simple rectangle, select it with Selection tool or V, hold Alt or Option to create a duplicate, and release, and click and drag out while holding Alt or Option again to create a third duplicate. Let's select these with Selection tool, and just drag these across so we get a rough idea of our 3 columns. Grab a ruler, let's snap the first ruler to roughly here, and a second ruler roughly to here. We can now get rid of these, so use the Selection tool, highlight them all, and simply click backspace to delete them. Let's Command or Control plus to zoom in a little, use H for Hand tool to scroll up to the top. So we're going to create 9 different sections, 7 for every day of the week, and we'll have 2 left over to add notes and additional tasks and to-dos. Again, this is your planner, so you can design it in any way you like. Let's grab our line tool, click and drag out a line, and remember I've got snap to grid on now, so I can use the grid to guide me. This line is 2 boxes in from the left, 2 boxes in from the right. Select it with Selection tool, hold Alt or Option, and let's click out a duplicate and bring this 2 down and release. Now I'm going to use Command or Control D to repeat this line creation, and I'm going to do this 8 times so that I get 10 lines for 10 different entries for the day. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. With fill off and stroke on, let's grab my rectangle tool and let's draw out a rectangle with a height of 4 squares that lines up with these lines. We will also now create another rectangle that can be the bounding box for these lines. Next, grab the type tool, and this is an optional step, but I'm going to put in a type box where I can add the time of the day. So let's click and drag here. Let's bring out my character panel. So let's set the font to say Bebus. Let's leave it at 12 pixels. Set the area type to center, and if I go in with the type tool, let's go 00.00, and obviously I can change this accordingly. Select with Selection tool, hold Alt or Option, and then click and drag down a duplicate below, and again repeat Command or Control D to duplicate this onto every line. Let's just quickly zoom in, Command or Control plus. Now I'm going to set my timestamps to every 2 hours. Again, this is your planner. You can do whatever you like here. You can set this like a 9 to 5 with an hour either side. You can leave this blank so you can add your own time in. It really is up to you. So let's go in with type tool and let's change these accordingly. Click on the side here to unselect the type box. Then with Selection tool, let's select these lines. Let's use the arrow keys to move them over to the side. Direct selection. I'm going to click and drag over these anchor points, and then again use the arrow keys to bring these in line here. With these selected, maybe I can make a little bit of a color change. Make sure I'm on stroke, not fill. Come to my swatches panel and let's select maybe a lighter gray color. Let's Command or Control minus to zoom out a little to see what's going on. Grab my Selection tool. Let's make this a little friendlier to look at. Select the bounding box. Let's use the Curve Corners tool. Click and drag to curve this in. And let's do the same with the top box. So select it, And let's click and drag this all the way in as such. I'm now going to come to my ellipse tool, going to click and drag out to create an ellipse, hold shift to create the perfect ellipse, select it with selection tool, and let's click and drag this circle over into the corner. So what we're going to do is have the day of the week here, and then we're going to leave this blank so you can fill in the corresponding numbers. So say it's March the 5th, March the 6th, whatever that looks like. Let's add a little color to this. So for my day of the week, I'm going to use a nice gold color. So if I double click my fill color, I'm going to set 2, 10, 100, and 0. Gives me a nice gold color. Let's click OK. I've got my color here. Now if I come to my swatches, click add new swatch, there's my gold color, press OK, and I've now got the gold color saved there. So if we grab this header box here, add the gold color, and then to the circle then I'm going to make the fill color white. So that way then you can write the number in for the day of the week when you print this off. Let's grab this and send it to the back. Right click, arrange, send to back. And then finally, for every day of the week, I'm going to have a different stroke color. So let's use selection tool. So select the circle, the header box, and the bounding box here. Let's switch to stroke, bring up my stroke panel, and let's increase the weight of this stroke so that it's a lot thicker. It's looking good. And finally, if I switch then to my swatches, I'm now going to apply a different color for the day of the week. So let's start with, say, a green for the Monday. Maybe I'll bring this weight down a little. Again, I can always go in and make changes later. Happy with that, so let's come off. And finally then, let's add the day of the week. So grab our type tool, click and drag a type box over the gold header. And Wednesday is the longest day of the week in terms of number of letters. So if we can fit Wednesday into this type box, we can fit all the days in. So let's type Wednesday, Command or Control A to highlight, and let's apply some changes to it. So let's say Apple fat face for the font. Could probably make this a little bigger. Let's center line it. And also let's center area the type. Let's select off. That's looking good. I'm happy with that. So now that we have one complete, let's set up our 9 different segments on the page. So let's Command or Control minus to zoom out. Just H for hand tool to zoom in. Selection tool. Let's click and drag over to select all this. I'm going to use the arrow keys just to shunt over one. And then with all this selected, let's use Alt or Option, click and drag out a duplicate. We can bring this down and use the snap to grid to help us align it. And let's do this one more time. Alt or Option, click and drag out, and there is our third one accordingly. It's Command Control minus to zoom out. So that's looking pretty good. Select them all with selection tool, and let's just use the arrow keys just to create a little bit of space between these. So select those two and go down one, select this and go down one. Maybe select them all and come down one more grid. Let's toggle the grids and the guides off. So remember, Command or Control parentheses to turn those off, Command or Control semicolon to turn the guides off. So that is looking good so far. Now let's repeat this 2 times to get our 3 to 9. So I'll turn the guides and the grid back on. Select all these with the selection tool. Same process again, Alt or Option to create a duplicate. Let's hold Shift to keep it in line. And let's drag this out in between the lines and repeat again to get one more on the right hand side. Use the arrow keys to move one over. Next, let's change the color and the days of the week of each segment. So I just come to the first one. So for each segment, I'm going to grab my type tool, click, Command or Control A to highlight all, backspace to delete, and then add the appropriate day of the week, Monday. So we're happy with that. We'll keep the green. Now let's go to Tuesday. It's the same process again. Click, Command or Control A. Let's type Tuesday. And what I'll do now is with my selection tool, let's highlight the thick strokes. We've got the circle, we've got the top header, and we've got the main curved box that goes around the lines and the times. Come to my swatches panel, make sure my stroke down here is selected, not the fill, back into swatches. And now let's select a different color. So let's just say blue for Tuesday. There we go. And what I'm going to do now is repeat this for every single section until we get to the last 2. Now, as you can see, I've got 2 remaining sections here. Now, it's up to you what you do with these. You could maybe double up on certain days if they're particularly busy. But what I like to do is if I remove the white circle, let's grab the type box with the selection tool, click and drag to bring this across, use a type tool, select, Command or Control A, and let's maybe call this priorities, and maybe call this one, if I select it, selection tool, type tool, Command or Control A, and maybe call this notes. Could even change the color of these two, hold shift, and instead of a gold, let's maybe go for a lighter green or something like that. I'm going to get rid of the numbers, so selection tool, let's click and drag over these numbers, backspace to delete. Let's do the same with the notes, click and drag over, backspace to delete, and then let's get my direct selection tool, click and drag over the anchor points on the left-hand edges of the lines and use the arrow keys to come across, and do the same then with priorities. So if I zoom out now with Command or Control minus, there we go. So I've got Command or Control parentheses to turn the grid off, and Command or Control semicolon to turn the guides off. So there you go. I've now got Monday through to Sunday, and I've got 2 additional sections that I can use to add important to-dos, notes, whatever it is I want to do. Remember all times to save the document, so let's just quickly Command or Control S to save all my changes that I've made so far. And this is nearly ready now, so if I unsnap to grid, so Shift, Command or Control, parentheses, I can check this here. So you go, snap to grid is not on, so now I can kind of freehand things a little more. As you can see, these are not quite center with the canvas, so if I use selection tool, click and drag over all of these, right click, create a group. Now if I come to my align tool, align to artboard, and I can center align horizontally and center align vertically. And with all these selected, maybe I can make them a little smaller, so let's hold Shift and Alt to keep this in line, and click and drag in slightly. There we go. If I select, right click, and ungroup, I can now use selection tools, so maybe let's select these top 3, and let's use the arrow keys to shunt them up a little, and do the same with these 3 down here. So there we go, that looks a bit more spaced out now. So let's Command Control S to save the AI file. And now, once we're ready to print this, let's export it as a PDF. So go to File, Save As, Save on Computer, Save in DWG Images. I'll keep it Weekly Planner 01, but instead now I will save as a PDF. So I've got the original AI file, and I will now create a new PDF. Press Save. I'm going to save the preset as PDF 1A 2001, leave everything else as it is, click Save PDF, and press OK. And now if I very quickly look at my exports, so here is my original AI file that I can go back in at any time and make changes to, and here now is my weekly planner PDF that I can print as many times as I like and use to organize my weeks accordingly. So there you have it. That's how to create your very own fun, colorful weekly planner in Illustrator that you can export as a PDF and use as a printable. So I really hope you found that tutorial helpful, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, keep on designing, and I will see you for the next tutorial.